You're listening to the Complete Human podcast, hosted by co-founders Jana Breslin and Evan DeMarco. We share authentic conversations about wellness, longevity, personal growth, and biooptimization, along with inspiring stories that encourage community and social responsibility. We hope you enjoy this episode.
It is impossible to have a conversation about biooptimization without touching on the subject of sex. Sex is as hardwired into our DNA as much as breathing or blinking. Without sex, the species cannot continue. Without sex, humanity dies.
While one study that claimed men think about sex every 12 seconds turned out to be a myth, it goes without saying that men and women spend a considerable amount of time thinking about doing the horizontal polka. We are so bombarded with sexual images that it's impossible to not think about.
However, evolutionary biology might be flawed. While the science of understanding sexual peaks is a complex undertaking, younger men tend to have less physical or emotional issues with sexual performance, while women seem to experience greater sexual pleasure after age 30, something pop culture and pornography have done a great job of highlighting.
So why is it that women seem to be hitting their sexual peak when men are on the tail end of theirs? Did you know 40% of men in their 40s will suffer from erectile dysfunction, 50% in their 50s, and so on and so on? Treating erectile dysfunction is a billion-dollar business. Viagra, Cialis, pumps, creams, injections, embarrassing in-office medical treatments, and gas station countertop pills have all guaranteed a return to the sexual promised land. And men have been willing to offer almost anything to reclaim some sense of sexual vitality. Is it ego? Is it confidence? What drives men to spend an arm and a leg to get it up again? In this episode, we discuss the challenges of typical ED treatment, why they are no longer necessary, and how men in their 20s and 30s can stave off the dreaded limp noodle. Dustin Wolf joins us to talk about the Phoenix, an at-home treatment giving men back confidence in the bedroom and in life. Join us for this stimulating conversation on biooptimizing sexual function with the Phoenix.
Hey guys and gals. Before we get to our discussion with Dustin about biooptimizing sexual function with the Phoenix, I wanted to let you know that we have a very special deal for all Complete Human listeners. Are you interested in biooptimizing your sex life? If so, head on over to getmyphoenix.com/completehuman and enter completehuman at checkout to save 20% off your Phoenix today. That's getmyphoenix.com with code completehuman to save 20%. It's impossible to talk about quality erections without discussing the important role nitric oxide plays in healthy sexual function. With Complete Human Resbeat, you can amplify the results you get from your Phoenix with a delicious daily drink mix that supports optimal nitric oxide production with the added benefit of resveratrol, the longevity gene. Go to store.completehuman.com and use podcast20 to save an extra 20% on Complete Human Resbeat. That's store.completehuman.com with code podcast20. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Complete Human podcast with your host,
Jana Breslin
and Evan DeMarco. We talk a lot about biooptimization with the goal of living longer and living healthier and living better. But my question is, what's the point of all of this if you can't get an erection?
That's a good way to start this off.
You know what? I could be the healthiest person in the nursing home, but if I can't get some morning wood, I just don't know if I want to wake up in the morning. So with that in mind, I'm I got a big heart on for this guest. It's just started early. So, ladies and gentlemen, our next guest is actually someone who's taken it upon himself to make sure that the problem of sexual health is something that guys can put in their own hands. And again, the puns are just going to keep coming.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to have a lot of fun. Dustin Wolf, thank you so much for joining us here on the Complete Human podcast.
Thank you for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. I love doing these things.
That's great.
So for those of you who do not know Dustin, and I think at a certain point he's probably going to end up winning a Nobel Prize, but he is.
I hope so.
He's the man responsible for this device. So I'd like you to tell us a little bit about who you are and how this beautiful thing came to be sitting in my hand, and actually put it in her hand because it looks better there.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. So no, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. And that device is called the Phoenix. And what it is it's an acoustic wave device that emits a sound wave that reverses the effects of erectile dysfunction. And even if you don't have ED, it can take you back 10, 15, 20 years, right? So we'll talk about like the effects and how that stuff kind of happens. But that device right there is the very first home use acoustic wave therapeutic device to help treat guys who are having issues in the bedroom, right? So how I actually came upon the device, well, like helped invent the device was about 5 years ago, my partner and I started a clinic in Studio City to treat guys in a clinic, right, using a therapeutic medical grade, right, very expensive device for guys that were having issues in the bedroom, right? So it's a, again, sound wave that penetrates the tissue. It's not invasive. It's non-invasive. There's no side effects, but the challenge is it's very expensive, right, to do it in a clinic. So that's how the Phoenix came about. And there's a big backstory we should talk about. But one of the first things that I kind of noticed when the clinic was taking off and we were treating a lot of guys was that we had to turn down a lot of guys, or they were turning us down because it's so expensive. One single treatment in the clinic is about $500, right? And most guys need anywhere from 6 to 12 treatments, which puts it, out of the reach of most men.
And this is definitely not something that's covered by insurance because it's not a medical condition as far as insurance is concerned.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And it's not FDA approved. It's used off label. Okay. What most people don't know is this type of therapy is, well, it's very successful. Like I said, there's no side effects and no downtime, but most people don't even know what it is, right? It's called acoustic wave therapy. It's also referred to as shock wave therapy, right? Which is kind of scary, but it's a sound wave, right? It's real scary. It's a sound wave, and it's a type of therapy that's been used in Europe for over 20 years, right? And like I said, it's highly therapeutic, it's very efficacious, and there's no downtime and no side effects. So it just started making its way here to the US about 5 years ago, right? So there's probably 500 or 600 clinics that do this, right, in the US right now. And it's growing and it's going to continue to grow, right? But the challenge is that you have to go into a clinic, right? It's a lot of money, and you have to like take your pants off in front of a stranger, right? Which is very intimidating multiple times, right? So it's taking time off of work. It's, the shame and embarrassment factor. And after, like I said, after about 6 months of doing this in the clinic, this was about 3.5, 4 years ago, I was like, I'm sure I'm not the only guy that had this idea. I'm like, if somebody could invent, right, a device that was safe, easy to use, and actually worked for guys to use in the privacy of their own home and made it affordable, you could help, tons of men all over the world. And that's exactly how the Phoenix was born.
I love that. And I think, after we get back from our first break, I love what you're doing, right? Because you're putting power of, the erection in a guy's hands at home. You're taking away all of those stigmas that you just talked about. Now, when we get back from the break, Jana's going to talk a little bit about her background in giving guys boners.
That is ridiculous.
Did that come out right? It did.
Just keep listening. Just please keep listening.
One of the things that I found fascinating about this device, and before we get into the science, I want to talk about the competition.
Mm-hmm.
So when we first chatted with you, I wanted to go and see what else is out there. And if you go to the only place that people shop now, you come across Amazon. And I typed in these, and I bought one of the devices on there. And you get this Phoenix and you open it up and it's this package that, there's explanations, there's videos, it talks about it. The one that I got on Amazon had a 1-page instruction, half of it written in Chinese. And then when you turn it on, it looked like I thought it was going to kill me. So, obviously there's, I think that people are trying to do this, but you guys have done such an amazing job of really the education process, what it takes to do this. Honestly, one of the things that I was so fascinated about on this device was the lockout period. So let's chat about that. But first, I guess, let's talk a little bit about the science. Why does the acoustic wave therapy actually help with erectile dysfunction or bedroom performance?
Right. So, well, let's just talk about why guys start developing issues in the bedroom in the first place, right? It mostly, health related, right? There's the psychological aspect, right? There's the hormonal aspect, but there are a ton of guys that suffer from ED or start to suffer from ED for one very simple reason. Plaque builds up in the blood vessels of the penis, right? Just like it does all over your body, just like it does in your teeth, just like it does in your arteries. This micro plaque, it's kind of like a clogged drain. So guys often turn to pills, right? The little blue pill, these other ones have been around forever, to actually dilate the blood vessel so that blood can flow in and cause a quality erection. So that's just a band-aid, right? And we all know it. And eventually the pills stop working. So, like I just mentioned, about 20 years ago, a group of doctors in Europe started experimenting with sound waves on the penis. And what they found was is it actually breaks up that microplaque in the blood vessel, right? Allowing blood to flow back in. But it does a couple of other things. It rejuvenates old and let's just say like frail blood vessels, and it actually helps to grow new tissue, new blood vessels through a process called angiogenesis, right? And again, it's a very therapeutic wave, right? It's a low intensity shock wave that guys have been benefiting from for 20 years. But like I said, it just made its way over here. So it's safe, and the science behind it is backed by probably, I don't know, a few hundred studies that have been done by big urology groups all over the world. But again, the challenge is it's very expensive and you have to go into a clinic and get it done, which most guys don't want to do,
Most
right?
guys. And
Even if they can afford it, they'd rather just take a pill. But again, the challenge is that those pills eventually stop working. They have side effects, they're dangerous, and the timing thing. And again, it's just a band-aid. It doesn't get to the root cause. And the root cause is the microplaque that builds up in the blood vessels.
yeah, and I've actually had the the expensive therapeutic done, and we did a story on that one, and it was kind of funny, right? Like, even as a 41-year-old guy, in very good health, it was still one of those things where there was an element of kind of awkwardness, right? Like, I'm not there for the purpose, but just to experience that.
Right.
And I think I really want to talk about the preventative benefits of the
Mm-hmm.
Phoenix as we
Yes.
get into this. But it's still like, yeah, I'm like, I'm dropping trow, and then some woman is jackhammering Captain Winky for 20
Right.
minutes, and I'm like, and it really comes down to like, what do you do during that 20 minutes? Do you talk? What do you talk about? Like, what is that conversation like? Lovely
Yeah,
weather
it's
we're having.
awkward. It's so awkward. Yeah. And I get it. So, I mean, going back to the clinician side, the clinical side is, the clinic that I own and I started with my partner about 5 years ago, it does very well. We treat a ton of guys every single day, right? It's one of the largest in the country. And so every day I see these guys come in and they're like embarrassed, they're ashamed. And I get it. I understand. They walk in and they're like, I have this problem, I need to get this thing fixed. So it's kind of still has that like shame factor, right? But again, it's getting to the root cause instead of just taking a pill, right? They're actually addressing the root issue, which is the microplaque buildup.
That's awesome. We're going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, I want Jana to talk a little bit about her experience with something that you just brought up, pun intended.
Yeah.
I can't stop. It's like reflex.
It is.
All right, guys, we'll be right back.
Hey everyone. Before we get to my big reveal, I want to talk about blood flow. It is essential for healthy sexual function. Age, diet, and lifestyle can all impact how blood flows to certain areas. And as you'll soon find out, this is something I know a thing or two about. Now, there's a way to break up microplaques, improve blood flow, and even regrow old tissue, all from the privacy of your own home. The Phoenix is a revolutionary tool for sexual optimization that has men from their 20s all the way to 70s and beyond reclaiming their sexual confidence and bio-optimizing their bedroom life. Listeners of Complete Human can save 20% on the Phoenix. Head over to getmyphoenix.com/completehuman for 20% off your Phoenix. That's getmyphoenix.com/completehuman for 20% off your very own Phoenix.
Hey, guys and gals. Later on in the show, you're going to hear a really funny story about an experience I had with Cialis. Okay, it's funny now, but at the time, it was one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. And as we talk about sexual function and how important nitric oxide is to sexual function, it reminds me that my whole experience could have been avoided if I would have just taken Resbeat. The nitric oxide boosting benefits of Resbeat, combined with the anti-aging properties of resveratrol, are a perfect combination for ultimate cardiovascular health and blood circulation. So head on over to store.completehuman.com and enter podcast20 to get 20% off your first order. That's store.completehuman.com and code podcast20 to get 20% off your order of Resbeat. You won't regret it. All right, guys, we are back with Dustin Wolf, inventor. What do we call you as far as all of this? What's your official title?
It's a couple of things. My official title is the Chief Revenue Officer, but I'm the co-founder of Launch Medical, along with my partners who actually develop home use therapeutic devices that are otherwise out of reach, financially or whatever other reason for most people, right? And we have some other female products coming down the pipe, but this is the first one that's in the market. And I'm the co-founder and co-inventor of the Phoenix, but Launch Medical is the actual parent company.
Awesome. So, we're going to call you, I don't want to call you the boner creator, but it's, I don't know if that goes well on a business card. So speaking of boner creator,
You look at me.
let's talk about Jana.
Well, the reason why we're kind of joking about that is not a lot of people know this, but I used to work in the pharmaceutical industry for Eli Lilly, and my medication, one of them was Cialis. So I used to
Okay.
go and see doctors and do my thing at their office. And I mean, this is a hot topic. This was the one
Mhm.
medication where I would go into these offices. I would have patients in the waiting room steal things out of my bag. They would steal the samples out of my
Oh, I
bag.
believe it.
Yeah, oh
Yeah, I
yeah.
believe
It
it.
was like it was so exciting for them. And
Pun intended.
right.
Yeah, it's just, sorry
Exactly.
guys.
No, that's fine, but also the doctors. I mean, they couldn't wait to sign for those and get those samples in because they knew
Yeah.
how important that is for people. And it is interesting too because coming from that background, it's so fascinating now to hear about a product that can help with ED naturally.
Hmm.
And that's something that I think is so amazing. Of course, because like you said, there are no side effects, and with
Hmm.
any pharmacological drug, it's just like
Yeah,
there's stuff that goes on.
yeah, and I
They
think
all
that
have side effects.
Yeah,
they all have side
absolutely.
effects, and let's be honest, as you said, they stop working, right? So you're not it's a
Hmm.
band-aid for the broken leg. And so what the Phoenix really does is, we talk about atherosclerosis, we talk about the microplaques. So that shockwave breaks that up. Now let's talk about longevity with this thing. How often are people using it? What does a protocol look like? You said 6 to
Sure.
12 for some of the big machines, but how does someone incorporate the home device?
Yeah, it's a very similar protocol. And again, this isn't like some magic bullet that like just cures ED. It's a therapeutic device that's meant to be used multiple times a year, just like going to the gym or just like any other type of maintenance programs like brushing your teeth. So the standard protocol that's been proven to work and that we've kind of adopted and modified a little bit with the Phoenix is 6 to 12 treatments done every 2 to 3 days, right? And then as needed after that. Okay, so it might be once a month, it might be a couple times a year, but most guys are, having the success they are doing 6 to 12 treatments, and then they take a pause, right? And then they go about their life and they're seeing a huge benefit from that. So it's not something you have to do every day. It's not something you have to do right before sex. We get that a lot, right? Do you have to do this right before sex? No, right? This is kind of like it's a therapeutic regimen that you do maybe a few times a year. But again, it's just like maintenance. That's how we kind of refer to it.
Well, and let's talk about the physiology component of this, because plaque buildup, which is usually lifestyle based. Now, atherosclerosis is going to
Hmm.
happen regardless of, if you're the cleanest living human being in the world, or if you're living
Right.
off of potato chips and bonbons. But the vasculature of the penis is very similar to the
Hmm.
vasculature of the heart. So it's kind of the canary in the
Hmm.
coal mine, whereas we start to see erectile dysfunction, that can be an indication of cardiovascular disease. So I
Hmm.
like this concept from the standpoint of, you're treating, or you're not treating, but you are supplementing sex and supplementing the issues associated with erectile dysfunction, but also hopefully shining a light on where some lifestyle deficiencies exist with people and what they need to do to
Hmm.
live a healthier life so that they can enjoy better sex.
That's exactly right. So what happens is we actually get a lot of feedback from our customers, or things are starting to like get better in the bedroom. So they're guess what they're doing? They're like they start eating better, they start exercising. They're like, I want this these benefits to be even greater. So then excuse me, they start taking care of themselves, right? So even more. I mean, the challenge is even the healthiest of guys. We get a lot of feedback from our customers, or they're in their 40s, 50s, 60s. They're like, listen, I live a healthy lifestyle. Yeah, I eat right, I exercise. I'm starting to notice some changes in the bedroom, and they're like, this thing just changed my life, right? So it's not just for guys. I mean, guys can develop ED for a bunch of different reasons, but when we address the blood flow issue, which is what acoustic waves do, and what the Phoenix does, is everybody, every single guy at some point is going to have this challenge. So the stats show, and Jana, 40% of men over their 40s are having an issue, right? Or are going to experience an issue. 50% of men in their 50s are going to have an issue. It's coming for all of us. So we like to think of this as a holistic therapeutic, right, regimen that you can do to, either head that off so that you don't, start having these issues, or if you are having, symptoms of ED, this can actually, help improve that. So it's pretty revolutionary. And, we're the first ones in the market to actually do it. The device is FDA registered, and it puts out the exact same energy signature as the big expensive machines do in clinics like mine all over the country.
That's so cool. And it's, literally it's your sexual power in the palm of your hand.
I know it looks like it could be like a really expensive dildo. A lot of guys say, if Elon Musk, built a Phoenix, that's what it would look like.
Yeah, totally.
Speaking of dildo, I just a quick question. Is there anything like this for women? Can women use this? Is there anything? I mean, I'm just thinking out loud here.
So it's a great question. So let me answer that question by saying this. Again, acoustic wave therapy improves and increases blood flow to the area you're treating.
Right.
So there are some clinics around the country that use shockwave or sound wave therapy on females, like on the labia and on some, all the parts down there to increase blood flow, right? And it's been shown to work, but that device right there is not designed to do that. We do have some guys who are they're like, my wife's using that. I'm like, okay, I'm not responding to that. Talk to your doctor.
Here's the challenge, right? And I think we have to laugh at this because sexual health is something that is so taboo, especially in erectile dysfunction.
Yeah.
Why do we have a hard time talking about this? As you said, the stats show that this is an inevitability for guys. So the more that we can look at devices like this, and the more that we can have a conversation that's, recognizing that this is, you don't have to be ashamed of this, but you now have the power to do something about it. I mean, that's the empowering thing. And I love what you've done. I mean, you've really given guys the ability to take back their sexual health, which for a lot of men there's an ego component that's tied to their identity.
Huge ego and their confidence, right? Yeah. So here's what I'll tell you to answer that question, why is there such a stigma around this? From the time we evolved as humans, it's wired into our DNA, right? It's wired into men's DNA to procreate, right? To have intercourse, to have kids, to carry on your, lineage, your DNA, like I said. So it's just in our brains. And when we can't function the way we want to function and the way we want to please our partners, it's devastating, right? Then guys can develop other psychological issues like performance anxiety, and work performance starts to dip, their relationships start to suffer, those types of things. It is a huge issue for a guy if he just can't perform. That's why these pharmaceutical companies spend billions of dollars on advertising, because they know it, right? So they know it. But this is a good alternative to just taking a pill. So it really works, and the research is out there. Like I said, you can look up acoustic wave therapy or shockwave therapy for ED, and you'll pull it up.
Pun intended.
Sorry, rise again.
I can't help it. It's just
I know. Well, how much fun do you think we have at work every day?
Oh, my God. Yeah.
We've heard them all.
I bet.
Everything.
So and this is kind of paramount. I have another podcast called Single Parents Daily, and we focus a lot on the single parents journey. And so many guys reach out to me after being divorced, late 30s, early 40s, haven't been in any kind of, relationship other than their marriage for so long. And they're freaking the F out. They're just like,
yes, they are.
I'm, it's not even that they have erectile dysfunction. They have performance anxiety. So something like this, it's the psychological boost too, right? You're impacting the vasculature, but you're also kind of giving that all right, I'm going to go out. I know that things are going to be working, right?
Exactly. That's exactly right. So, we have a lot of guys that come into the clinic and a ton of customers that buy the Phoenix that say the same thing, right? They're like, I bought this because, whatever, I'm going through a breakup or going through a divorce. I just want to make sure that things are working correctly, right? But on top of that, it does boost their confidence when things are going well in the bedroom. I should put out there though, this isn't we have a ton of guys in their 20s and 30s buying the Phoenix, but they're not buying it because they have erectile dysfunction. They're buying it because it just makes things better, right? And they're trying to optimize their bedroom performance. A lot of guys are like, oh, I'm good. I'm an 8 or a 9 or a 10 in the bedroom. And then they buy this thing. They're like, oh, wow, I didn't realize how how things, can sort of, wander and dim over the years. So this helps rejuvenate that and bring it back.
Well, and let's be honest, right? Men reach their sexual peak in their teens.
Exactly.
I mean, you know, and let's, this is not a religious thing, but God's kind of a cruel SOB. If women reach their sexual peak in their 40s and men reach their sexual peak in their teens, what was he thinking?
Is it really 40s for women?
It is 40s, yes.
It is 40s.
Yeah, I think it's like late 30s, early 40s. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
that's
a perfect point, Dustin. From, you know, from the chemistry side of things or from the physiological side of things, is like guys, even though they don't recognize it, it can start to diminish, you know, in their 20s and 30s. And you know, I think we see a lot of other psychological performance issues, porn-based erectile dysfunction, you know, some of those things. So as we start to talk about this, you know, guys in your 20s and 30s, get out in front of it before it becomes a real problem, right? Because if it is a real problem, you're just doing damage control versus if you're doing all of the maintenance on the front side, well, the car's going to run a lot better for a lot longer.
Right. And that brings up the next question really is as far as age, you know, when can you start using this?
Well, I tell every guy over the age of 18, I'm like, there's no reason why you shouldn't be using this, right? But I mean, I'll just tell you, like most of our customers are in their, you know, 40s, 50s, 60s and up. But we do have a ton of guys in their 20s and 30s that just want to keep things going well in the bedroom, right? And I think our chief medical officer, Dr. Paul Thompson, says it best. He's like, you know, life's kind of like a dimmer switch. Like it just slowly like starts to dim as we age. And you may not notice things, you know, a big change from your 20s to 30s, but it's eventually going to start dimming on you, right? And this is just another, you know, therapeutic device that you can enter into your life to slow that process down, right? Or make it not happen at all.
Gotcha.
So let's talk a little bit about what comes in the box.
Yes. What's in the box?
God, yeah, like my eyes twitching. So one of the things that came with it is lidocaine.
Yes.
So let's talk, does this hurt? I haven't had a chance to do it yet, and I wasn't going to do it on air, but.
Well, no, you know, listen, everybody's different. Everybody's body is different and they respond differently to like pain and sensitivity, right? Mm-hmm. So some guys actually need some lidocaine to numb, you know, the tissue when they do the treatment. Most guys don't, right? But we put it in there just in case. And if they need it, they can always go to the website and order more. But we want to make sure that they're comfortable using the device. And if it, you know, I mean, like I said, you know, everybody has different sensitivity levels. So that's why we put the lidocaine in there.
And a typical session runs about 20 minutes. Is that right?
20 minutes. Yeah. I'll tell you right now too. A lot of guys get the Phoenix and they don't realize like how loud it is. Like it's loud. Well, it's emitting a shockwave.
You
right?
turned it on earlier just to like see, just to hear it or whatever. And I was like, is there a gunshot going on?
No, it's
aggressive.
It's loud, but guess what? It's emitting a very therapeutic but powerful, you know, sound wave. Mm-hmm. So it's going to make some noise. You know, a lot of people don't realize like, and we have videos, you know, on the website and we email them videos just to kind of like tell them like, hey, when you turn this on, like, don't be freaked out because it is loud.
Right.
Yeah. My almost 7-year-old daughter heard it this morning when I got it and, you know, turned it on and
she's like, what's going on?
That? They're like, oh God, like, how do you even answer that?
Yeah.
But I love that, you know, there's all of these old stats about how often people think about sex, right? And it is a significant amount. Sex is a natural part of our existence. It's procreation. It's our livelihood. There's so much that goes into it from a biological perspective. So, I mean, I love that it's 20 minutes a day, right? For all the time that we spend thinking about sex, preparing for sex, talking about it, a 20-minute investment 3 times a week, like that's like the best money you could spend.
Mm-hmm.
Just for 2 or 3 weeks, right? And then repeat like as needed afterwards. You know, we have a lot of guys, they'll go through the first protocol and then they'll use it like, you know, once a week or a couple times a month. And then they'll do another, you know, 6 to 12, you know, sessions. So it's just a good investment, preventative maintenance as well.
Absolutely. And I think that's the coolest part is that I think people are definitely owning this more, you know, optimize your life, start young, do what you can now to be preventative, to make sure everything is going as smoothly as long as it can. And I just think that's amazing to find something where, because it's rare that you find something that's so effective that also doesn't have side effects. And the fact that people can use it young and it's helping them for a long time, I think that's just very impressive.
It's a cool device.
Absolutely. So something else came with it, right? There was another device that came with it, or another contraption.
Yeah, we should talk about that. That was the vacuum.
Yeah, the vacuum. Okay.
So exactly. So let's talk about it a little bit. So think about this, you know, from a a blood flow, standpoint. Anytime tissue is repairing itself or it's growing, I mean, what's helping that happen? Or actually, what's making that happen is blood flow. Okay, so the proven protocols that have been, studied and shown to be the most effective, actually introduce a vacuum pump uh, twice a day for 10 minutes while you're going through these treatments. Okay. And then once you're through the 6 or 12 or 24, how many you do, then you don't need to. But what it's doing is it's pulling rich oxygenated blood flow to that area, right, to help foster angiogenesis, which is the growth of new tissue, and it helps clear that microplaque out of the blood vessels, right? So what we see and what we've noticed, and like I said, I've been doing this 4 or 5 years, is that the guys that actually follow the protocol to a T see a much greater benefit than the guys that don't. They kind of get lazy. They don't want to do the work, right? It's 10 minutes twice a day, guys. Like, come on, put your phone down, turn off Facebook, turn the phone off, right? Turn the TV off. So, but yeah, that's why we actually ship a pump, complementary pump with the Phoenix, so that guys actually use it, while they're going through the treatments.
So I heard this, and tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that this was on one of our good friend Dr. Killen's pages. But she was talking about the really expensive therapy in conjunction with this, and for the people
Mhm.
who were on I want to say it was a 2-month protocol, they saw a like 1.25 inch growth and a 3/4 inch girth growth in the penis. Now I don't know if that's correct, but
Uh-huh.
that came from a medical doctor. So this is a person I typically trust.
Okay, so no, I understand that, and she's accurate, and a lot of guys do experience some growth in size. We don't we don't market that. It's not on our website. We don't talk about that, and but it is a great benefit or side effect of acoustic wave therapy or shockwave therapy. Guys do notice that, but let's think about it from like you said, a physiological standpoint. We're growing new tissue. We're regenerating and rejuvenating old blood vessels, right? So what happens? Like I said, it's kind of like, again, if I had to, I always throw this one out there because it's easy to understand for most people. It's like going to the gym, right? You exercise, what's going to happen, right? The muscles are going to get a little firmer, they're going to get a little bigger because you're growing new tissue, right? And that blood flow is helping that. And yeah, we get a ton of guys in the clinic, a lot of guys, even on the website, they talk about it. And some of the reviews are like, oh, I'm getting bigger. My wife noticed. So, which is pretty cool. Look, but we choose not to use that as a stat or some type of like marketing gimmick to get the word out about the Phoenix. But it is, and it's very common that guys do experience that.
Yeah, and I didn't really bring that up as kind of a sales point on this one. I
No, I
think
know,
it's more
but
just
it
that.
does happen. It does happen, and some guys, again, a lot of guys experience that, and it does happen.
Cool.
I mean, every guy's cool with that.
Yeah,
Right. Which
Why
I mean,
not?
is that the goal? That's usually the goal, right?
I don't know. Like
Because I always
You
looked
know,
at something like this as okay, it's making things better during the performance, but maybe not necessarily outside of the performance too, as far as size or girth or anything like that. So that's
right.
very
Well,
interesting.
actually, I mean, just to be very candid, is most guys, no, most of the feedback that we get in the reviews that that we have are like, that is like a secondary like benefit. That's not why I'm doing this. That's not why I'm buying this or doing. It is they just want to perform at their peak level, at their age that they possibly can. That's all any guy wants, right? But listen, if those other things haven't, we ain't turning it down. Like it's like
yeah,
Mhm.
that, but that's not why most men do acoustic wave or shockwave therapy or buy the Phoenix.
yeah, and I think that everything that we've seen in the research, it was never really designed for that. It might just be a secondary component of it. But yeah, it's
Right.
performance is all of this, and we want to tie this back to biooptimization.
Mhm.
This idea
Hmm.
that regardless of how long we live, that life should be full. It should be robust. It should be something that we
Hmm.
enjoy. And there's kind of this inevitable idea that comes with age that you just don't have sex anymore. And I mean, I think back to like watching the Golden Girls, right? Like that TV show. You're way too
Yeah.
young for that.
She's too young. I
Yeah,
don't know if
like,
you
but
remember. I
it's like,
remember.
yeah, and you remember like all of these older women talking about their sex lives, and it was so refreshing. But at this point, people are living so much better. How do we continue to enjoy sex, that fundamental desire that we have, long past the time when you know like my grandparents did, is separate the beds. So there's like
Oh,
two
yeah,
beds
yeah.
in the same room.
Like the Mary Tyler Moore show.
Totally.
You know, where you saw that. I remember seeing it on TV when I was a kid. I'm like, why do they have two separate beds? What is that?
Yeah.
My parents don't have that.
Yeah, my grandparents did that. And it was like, you know, I was 10 at the time. I didn't understand it. But now you're like, well, after that much time, things just don't work. So I don't want
Right.
to sleep next to you.
Well, going back to the optimization thing, I think, you know, when we're talking about sex and, you know, acoustic wave therapy and increasing and improving blood flow, there's a lot more that goes into it, as you guys know. There's the you know, the chemical hormonal aspect, there's the psychological aspect, you know, and it's really, like you said, it's just taking care of yourself, right? And getting in front of things before, you know, it goes, right? Exercise, diet, you know, hydration, you know, everything that, you know, everybody knows they should be doing, but they don't, a lot of people don't want to do the work, right? And one of the side effects, you know, is ED. And there's other things that can cause it, you know, medications, diabetes, high blood pressure, you know, just lack of good quality sleep, all of these things. And you guys know that, you know, it all kind of ties together. This is one aspect, you know, that addresses the blood flow issue, right? But you got to do the work. You got to take care of yourself.
There really is no band-aid approach to anything with health. And just like what you said, there's this all-encompassing approach to this. It just reminds me, if you could take our Resbeat product, which has nitric oxide, in conjunction with the Phoenix,
right? Blood flow,
blood
right?
flow.
Increases blood flow. No, we have, it's so funny. We have a Facebook page. It's actually a private forum. And a lot of guys in there are talking about, you know, these different type of, you know, nitric oxide, you know, boosting supplements, and they're going back and forth. I tried this, I tried that. This works, this doesn't. You know, that's actually the secondary topic that guys talk about in this private forum is NO boosters for sure.
And the funny thing is, if you're at a point where atherosclerosis is causing erectile dysfunction, your typical, you know, ingestibles, which is going to be your arginine, your agmatine, those type of things, which are nitric oxide boosters, they don't work. They're not going to help nitric oxide penetrate that, you know, atherosclerosis into the endothelial wall. Whereas beet nitrates actually do promote nitric oxide that circumvents that metabolic pathway. So now, you know, we have our beet product. So I'm actually interested to do a little scientific work now.
Yeah, we'll take that and use that and watch what happens.
And then my book next week will be coming out. It's called Trails in the Sand by Peter Dragon.
Stop.
You got it.
All day long.
I don't think I understood.
They're going to start calling you Mr. Tripod.
Exactly.
Peter Dragon?
Peter Dragon.
Oh my God.
Trails in the Sand by Peter Dragon.
Right.
Yeah. Dustin, you know,
we could go all day,
I mean, this has been educational, but it's just been a lot of fucking fun.
Well, I'll tell you. So, I mean, there's one thing that I definitely want to touch on here is the guidance system and the safety mechanism that us and our engineers actually designed and installed in the Phoenix. Right? You touched on that in the very beginning, but you know what it is think about it like this: this isn't something you should be using every single day, right? Again, it's like going to the gym. You wouldn't go into the gym and do heavy squats every day because you know better. You know your body needs time to repair, recover, you know, these types of things. So the standard protocol, and why I said it's 2 to 3 times a week, is guys need, you know, a couple of days break, 2 or 3 days in between treatment sessions while you're going through the protocol. Okay. So we designed in the software what we call lockout period. When you're using the Phoenix, you're going to do one full treatment, and then it shuts down and locks you out for 36 hours.
That's
right?
Brilliant.
You know, as guys know, like we all know.
If a little bit is good, then more is
better.
Yeah,
more is better,
Yeah.
right? Take
I'm
more,
on that
do
type.
more. No. See, and that's exactly the case. So what we wanted to do was just make it dummy proof, right? You can't get into that thing for 36 hours, and nor should you be doing, you know, treatments, you know, sooner than that. So, so on top of that, we actually installed a guidance system, which I call like the runway lights, those blue lights that tell you exactly, how fast you should be pacing along the shaft, back and forth. And this is all, you know, stuff that's on the how-to video that we give you when you open the box. There's a website that you go to watch the instructions.
Well, and that's what I loved about it too, because I did watch the video right when I got it, and you know, just went through the whole unboxing of it, and it really is such a great presentation. But you know, for something that is complex, just in the way that it works and how it needs to be done, and I compared it to that other machine that I bought just to kind of look, and it was literally a one pager half of it written in Chinese, and it didn't give any instruction on how
Right.
it works. It's just like, use
Yeah.
this for erectile dysfunction. You're like, what? You're like,
Well, how do I do it? Yeah.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
it's so like it's one of those things like this thing is going on a man's penis. They want to know the details. They want to know it's safe. They want to know how do I do it. Right. So we were very, very, very detailed. And we're coming out with some updated videos as well, just based off of feedback, that we've gotten over the last 6 months to a year. That it's going to go even to more, depth and on questions and answers and things like that, because it is like I mean, let's face it, it's like every guy's like nearest and dearest like part of his body. So we want to make sure that they feel comfortable. We answer their questions and we show them how to use it. When we talk about shipping devices all over the world, I mean, you have to be very, very detailed and just make sure that every guy, really understands that.
you got to feel comfortable with it, right? Like as you said, if you're putting this where you're putting it, it's it can't be just be like, use this.
Yeah, half a page of like exactly. Well, what do I do with it, right?
Yeah.
Our instruction videos, they're very detailed.
And the funny thing is, the thing came with like a suitcase, and it's got like all of these different buttons, and I'm like, it looks like the
Really?
nuclear arms football that the president carries around.
Oh, like if you open it up.
Yeah, you open it up, and there's like 15 different like settings, but there's no instructions. I'm like, I have no what I do. If I push one of these, is the space shuttle going to explode? I'm like, fuck, I don't know.
Yeah, like
But
what's going to happen?
yeah, and so education is key, and the technology, as you said, has been around, and I think we've talked a little bit about this in the past, looking at cardiovascular disease and how just
Mhm.
really this biogenesis of the vasculature is so important. As we get older, things shrink. So, what do you
Right.
guys have next? Because I know you said that you've got some other products coming down the pike. Can we talk about those?
We do, yeah. I can't talk too much about it, but acoustic wave therapy and shockwave therapy has also been clinically proven to treat and remove cellulite, right? Which is, as you know, I mean, it's a very big issue for a lot of women all around the world, right? It really bothers them. So applying acoustic waves, at the right energy signature has been shown to remove cellulite. So the same technology that's in the Phoenix is in development right now for a product to come out hopefully within the next 12 months or so to help treat cellulite. So there is something for the ladies. See?
There we go. So I could use this
Yes.
on wherever I need it.
Yes. Wherever you need it to tighten the skin. Yeah.
That's
Well,
smart.
and also on top of that, actually, before doctors were using it to treat ED, they were using it for a decade or so before that to heal soft tissue, right? So it's been clinically shown to treat plantar fasciitis, right? Which I've had before. It's very painful. Tissue tears, things like that. So we have a lot of people, they'll use it on their shoulder, they'll use it on, whatever, like their calf or their, wherever they're having like pain, issues. Soft tissue though, no bone. Don't stick the thing on your skull, right? It won't really grow your hair, right? But again, the protocols are very different. And we have other products in the pipeline right now in development to bring to market to address those specific issues.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
You guys, seriously, you're going to win a Nobel Prize.
Well, listen, I hope so. It's been a lot of work. It's been a lot of stress. And, we've, self-funded, the Phoenix and Launch Medical from the very beginning when we went off on this venture 3 years ago. We went through 27 different prototypes, a small round of clinical trials in my clinic in Southern California. And it's been a labor of love, but we've been in the market for about 6-7 months now, and we're getting a ton of amazing feedback, incredible testimonials on the website. And it's just really starting to, take off, on a life of its own. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So it's
like a phoenix
it's
rising.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, as a former Cialis pharmaceutical rep, I can absolutely appreciate this just because I've kind of transitioned more into like the how do we heal naturally, how do we support the body
Right.
naturally, how do we prolong
Right.
health benefits. So, even though I can't use it on certain parts of myself, I can appreciate it.
Yeah,
So
no, I
thank you.
agree. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
we're super excited and I mean we're experiencing a ton of growth, no pun intended. And there's just so much demand for it. It's tough for us to keep up with inventory and things like that, but it's pretty amazing. And listen, we have a 30-day money back guarantee, and I tell everybody the same thing. Like a lot of guys will start to experience results after just 2 or 3 treatments, sometimes after one. But the reality is this: angiogenesis and the growth of new tissue, right? Regeneration can take up to 90 days, right? So we've had guys do 6 treatments. They're like, yeah, I see some improvement, but not as much as I expected. And then they'll do another 6 treatments a month later, and they're like, boom, I feel like I'm 20 years old again, right?
Mhm.
So it does take time. So we try to remove some of the risk and, people, financially of people purchasing it. But, the reality is everybody's a little different, right? It does take time, but we have about an 85-90% success rate of guys saying this definitely helps.
That's amazing. And look,
Yeah.
guys, those of you listening out there, or women who might be interested in this for your wives, I mean,
Mhm.
let's
For
acknowledge
your
the fact that
husbands.
husbands, sorry.
No, we have a lot of women. We have a lot. I go through our customer list every day, and we have a ton of women who buy this for their partners.
Mhm.
Yeah, and let's be honest,
Mhm.
right? You are not going to undo a lifestyle of bad health decisions within 30 days. So,
Mhm.
you have to give this
Exactly.
type of thing time. And, look, let's talk about it in the context of, we're at the end of 2020, this
Please,
godforsaken
let's get it over with.
debacle of, yeah, going into a new year. So how do you start to, employ things like this along with healthy lifestyle habits where that you're going to be one of those 90% people who are positively affected by that? Because I don't think that what we're advocating for, what you're advocating for, is this isn't the end all be all. This is just a great tool in the toolbox, along with
Exactly.
diet, exercise, all of the things that we talk about to really improve sexual performance.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly right. And again, just to touch on this one more time, is that how this device was born, the technology, which we have several patents on, which is pretty amazing, which I'm super proud of. But the three biggest factors were, again, cost, right? Most guys can't afford to spend $3,000 to $6,000 in a clinic, right? It's proximity to a clinic. There's 500 or 600 clinics around the country that do this, but still, relatively speaking, that's not a lot. It's growing, and it'll get there in 10 years. It'll be all over the place. But if you don't live near a clinic like mine or another one that does what we do, even if you can afford it, it's not realistic. Okay. And then is the shame and embarrassment factor, right? Like, who wants to go into a clinic and, just be like, this is what I'm here for. And,
Mhm.
it's just, it's embarrassing for these guys to go into a clinic and do these things. So
Or even just
again,
talking to your doctor about medications.
or even
Even that is, I'm
yeah,
assuming. Yeah.
exactly. It's embarrassing for guys. So a solution like this, which is highly effective and has, no downtime, no side effects. We have a lot of guys ask, well, do I have to stop having sex while I'm going through the treatments? No, absolutely not.
Mhm.
I mean, go for it. In fact, the more blood flow going to that area, the better.
Mhm.
Right. Exactly. So that's those three reasons were the biggest factors.
Guys, let me leave you with a cautionary tale. Those of you who follow the Single Parents Daily or the Single Daddy Daily podcast have heard this. This was one of my favorite stories, and it was called the Sex After Divorce story. And, I'd been married for a while and got divorced. And then I was a little, unsure of how things were going to go. So I asked my doctor for not the blue pill, but the other one. And
Hmm.
I took a lot of that because I had no idea how much you take and,
Sure.
whatnot.
I can't believe you're telling me
And
this.
and so ultimately what ended up happening is I had to go to the doctor 3 days later after the lady friend had left town because I had the biggest hemorrhoid in the known universe. And my doctor said flat
Uh-huh.
out that was because of the Cialis you took. So,
Oh.
you
Right.
know, not only was that just a demoralizing moment in my life, an insanely painful one, but if I would have had the Phoenix, I would not have had to deal with that.
Right. Again, and guys, and that goes back to the psychological aspect is guys want to make sure that things are going to work, right? When they need to work. Right. So they will do, these things. They'll take pills. They'll, try these gas station, like weird things. They'll do these rings, so something that has no downtime and no side effects. It's like, why would you not try that?
Yeah.
So
And that's the thing.
Absolutely.
It's not like it was needed. It was the psychological thing. Like
it
I
is a
don't know. It's
psychological
been
aspect.
so long. Like
Right.
there's that comfort level, and we put so much emphasis on this element of our lives. So
Hmm.
I keep coming back to this, guys. Those of you listening out there, this is such an amazing product from that standpoint alone. You're taking the control of your confidence back.
Hmm.
That's what it is. Whatever damage has been done down there, or if there isn't any damage, you're just, you're optimizing that area in a way that you can't do with pills or supplements or
Mhm.
anything else. I mean, that's a really freaking cool product,
It is
Unless
the
you combine it
confidence
with
thing.
Resbeat.
unless you combine it with Resbeat. Yes.
Then you're solid.
Blood flow, exactly.
But
So again, it's this addresses one aspect of it, but it's lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
Eat right, exercise, get sleep, hydrate. You know better,
Mhm.
So stop drinking soda. All
yeah,
those things.
it's a big one.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Dustin, where can people find you?
So you can go to getmyphoenix.com and you can get a lot of information there. We have, videos. It explains exactly what acoustic wave therapy is. It goes into detail about everything, the history of it. There's clinical studies, at the bottom of the site. But I mean, we have a special discount for your listeners if they want to go check it out and they want
Oh,
to purchase it.
Which I think is
So
getmyphoenix.com/complete human
complete human, that's
yeah.
exactly right. So
for a
yeah,
discount.
whoever's listening to this, you guys want to check it out, go to getmyphoenix.com slash complete human. And if you guys end up purchasing, great, and you'll get a super big discount.
Awesome.
Super big.
Super
Yeah,
big.
super big.
Phoenix big.
Super
like
big.
Phoenix big.
Phoenix big.
Right? Right.
Yeah, Dustin, this has been an
Yeah.
absolute pleasure. And I
Yeah.
don't say that because
Yeah.
we're talking about pleasure. I just say
No.
that because it has been.
It,
Ladies and gentlemen, we have talked so much about biooptimization. We've talked so much about increasing our lifespan. Jan and I talk about getting to 150. But at the end of the day, how do we do that and really suck every ounce of enjoyment out of that existence? And in this case, that we've never really paired with products in the past, or if we do, we make sure we do our due diligence. We make sure that their ethos aligns with the Complete Human brand. We make sure that it's not just garbage. And so with that, I am super excited to again talk about our partnership with the Phoenix. And again, it's getmyphoenix.com/complete human. You can save on it. But I just want to acknowledge the fact that we are super excited to pair with an organization that aligns with our brand and our belief that we can do better for people. We can help people live the most enriched lives possible. So with that in mind,
yeah.
I just want to say, Dustin, thank you so much for being a
No,
part
thank
of
you guys for having me on. Yeah, we're like-minded. We're all headed in the same direction. And again, it's about, how do you squeeze the most possible life out of the life you have every moment. So, and that's why we ended up together. I love it.
Yes.
I'm going to go start squeezing.
You go enjoy that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in for another edition of the Complete Human Podcast with your host,
Janet Breslin.
and Evan DeMarco. We've had Dustin Wolf. All of his information will be in the show notes, including some social stuff if you want to follow him there. All of the information on the website, as well as the coupon code. We'll have some additional information on just the whole platform. So super excited for you guys to head on over, check it out. Make sure that, you share this with all the people in your life that and guys, girls, whoever, that there's that person that can probably use a little help. Don't be afraid to offer a little constructive criticism by way of a link to the Get My Phoenix.
Exactly.
/complete human.
Of course.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.